What's up, everybody? It's Alan's Movie Talk, back at it again. Just got back from seeing Hard Eyes, so let's talk about it. So, Hard Eyes is the new romantic slasher film that stars Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding, where basically they play two characters who are coworkers that meet each other on Valentine's Day, and on that same day, there is a killer who goes out basically every Valentine's Day and kills people who are either in love or in couples. And I have to admit right away, I am a huge horror fan. I'm also a very big slasher fan. That is my favorite subgenre of horror. So when I saw the preview for Hard Eyes, I was very excited. Just from the premise of the trailer that it gave us, and then also too, I'm a big fan of Mason Gooding and what his work that he had as Chad Meeks in the Scream franchise. And then the movie just seemed like it was going to be a good time. So it was definitely a film that I was intrigued in and was definitely looking forward to seeing. So did I end up enjoying Hard Eyes? Overall, I would say I absolutely did. This is a fun romantic slasher film that to me, includes a whole lot of gore that was awesome and I wasn't really expecting. And two leads that have incredible chemistry that carry it throughout the entire way. And to me, Mason Gooding and Olivia Holt have incredible chemistry and are the anchors of this entire film. I felt like they did the best job when it came to the acting department. They did the best job making us believe in their romance and making us attached to their characters throughout this film. So when the Hard Eyes killer is, chasing them, you want them to survive and you want them to be together. And I felt like, this film did a very good job at establishing their relationship and making you want to root for them as an audience member. And like I said before, this film is violent. And there is a lot of gnarly, creative kill scenes in this film. I was a little bit disappointed with the marketing of the film. They give away one of the biggest kills in the trailer that I thought would have been better suited, to actually reveal in the film. But even with that being in the trailer, I felt like there was a number of other kills that they didn't give away that I felt like were just as creative and just as graphic and, just as fun. So I, really want to give points to this film for being very creative when it comes to the kills and just not holding back. They just go for it. They go hard with it. This is rated R. And they are not afraid to use that rating and get gory and get violent. And I enjoyed that. It made for a very fun time. But even though I was disappointed with them giving away that kill in the trailer, I did feel like there were other aspects of the plot details of the film that they actually did a good job at kind of keeping under wraps and not really giving away in the trailer. One of those things, I wouldn't really say this is a spoiler, but the film is a lot more meta than I thought it was going to be. There are a lot of commentary and references to typical horror tropes and also typical romantic tropes, which, I wasn't really expecting that. I don't think the trailer really gave that away. It kind of made it seem like it was more just a traditional romantic comedy, romantic slasher. So when I went into the film and I was like, whoa, this is a lot more meta, than I was expecting, I actually enjoyed that and found that to be, quite a nice surprise. And then also, too, when it comes to some of the relationships and the dynamics, I felt like they made it seem like it was going to go a certain way in the trailers. But then when you actually watch the movie, it turns out to be another, direction that they go. And I liked that. I felt like, not giving away your entire plot and giving away the details in the trailer is the best way to market your movie. Because, like I said, I was interested in the premise alone that they gave us in the trailer. So hiding some of those details, or not even hiding, I would say, but like making them seem like they're one way, but they're really not, I felt like was very smart. And in that aspect, they did a good job in the marketing and left some surprises for me. And then this film is just fun. I mean, there is a vibe and an energy to this film that is just a good time at the movies. I mean, this is the type of movie that you go on a Valentine's Day date with your significant other, or if you go out with a group of your friends, you're going to have a fun time at the theater. I went and saw this at a matinee on a Sunday in the afternoon, and there was only a few people in the theater, but we were all laughing, we were all gasping at some of the kills and the horror moments together. This is a film that is definitely meant to be seen with people and having a wider audience reaction associated with it, and I just appreciated that. It really was a fun, it's a very fun movie. It's a movie you want to see with a multitude of different people because you're gonna have a blast with it. And then also too, I just felt like the balance in the tone, with going with the horror slasher elements and the romantic comedy aspects, at least maybe in the second half of the film, was done very effectively. I felt like the blend of the tones and the blend of the humor and the horror was done very well, specifically in that back half of the film. There was a lot, like I said, there was a lot of meta commentary too, which would blend in with the humor and the kills and the tone switches that they went through in that back half of the film. I felt like did a really good job at balancing those two different completely different tones. So I really enjoyed that, and I know it's not maybe the most unique thing that's been done in horror before. I mean, we've gotten these types of films before, but I just felt like they did a good job, and I wonder why we don't have more of these. I know slasher is a genre in general that is kind of making a resurgence in the last couple of years. So, we might start seeing more of these now, but even like the holiday themed slashers, right? Like Spyglass did both of them. We got Thanksgiving, I think it was not in 2024, but the year before, and then now with Hard Eyes. I like this type of genre where, it doesn't take itself too ultra serious, and it allows for you to have some fun, and it takes tones that maybe necessarily wouldn't work, and it blends them together very well. But even though overall I did have a fun time with this film at the movies, it wasn't perfect. There was definitely some things that stood out to me as negatives. And the first thing that to me didn't really work all that well with this film was definitely like the first half of the film. I talked about how I enjoyed in the back half of the film the tone, the tone changes between the romantic comedy and then the horror slasher thriller that we got. And I felt like they did a good job going back and forth between those in the back half of the film. It did take a little while though to get its footing. I really felt like specifically the opening scene, was gnarly, right? There was some awesome kills in that opening scene, but the tone was like so jarring and inconsistent that it just felt awkward, and it felt kind of all over the place. And even when you're introduced to the main two characters of the film, I felt like it definitely took a little bit to get the footing and to get that tone balanced correctly. So it didn't work from the jump. It took some time. You had to kind of marinate it a little bit. And then eventually it got there, and it eventually, worked very well for me. But that beginning was a little bit rough, and it was particularly on the comedy side. I felt like the horror side, right from the rip, and the kills did a very good job, and that was great right up front. But it was the comedy and the romantic side, I think, at the beginning, that didn't really work right away. It took some time to get its feet going, and so it caused it to feel a little awkward in the beginning, and some of the jokes really didn't land in the beginning. But like I said, I felt like that got better as the film progressed. And then when it comes to the characters, outside of Mason Gooding, Olivia Holt, and I can't remember her name, the girl from Fast and Furious who plays Dom's sister, Jordan Brewster, I think. I can't remember her name, sorry. But outside of those three, I felt like a lot of the characters were very surface level and shallow. There weren't really any characters that were likable or that even felt like real human beings, truthfully. And that's where I kind of, get into the inconsistent tone in the beginning, is like I felt like they introduced a bunch of other side characters that I just didn't really care for and that I didn't think were doing that great of a job when it came to acting. And then once you kind of get the story a little more focused in the back half and, we get into the horror side of it, and it blends that a little bit better, but that's because the movie's a little bit more focused on the two leads. I felt like, the characters all around in this film weren't the best, and they weren't acted the best. it was really only those main three to me that I enjoyed and actually cared about. And then my last negative on the film, I'm not going to give away any spoilers or anything like that, but when you get to the end of the film and you get the killer reveals, I mean, it was just so blatantly obvious from the pretty much the jump, that who the killers were and what was going on. So I would have loved a little bit more, intrigue and mystery as to who the killers were. It was like 15, 20 minutes into the film. I'm like, that's the killer, pretty sure. And then it was, right? So that's a little disappointing when you're able to guess it so easily. So yeah, for me, that was definitely a negative of the film, and I wish they would have at least thrown in some red herrings or something, to at least try to convince me that the killer was somebody else, and not make it so blatantly obvious. But overall, guys, like I said, I had a great time with Hard Eyes. Is it going to be my favorite movie of the year? No. Is it going to be my favorite horror movie of the year? Probably not. But it's a great time at the movies, and one I would recommend next week for Valentine's Day. If you don't want to go see Captain America or something, go check out Hard Eyes. It's a good Valentine's Day slasher that you'll have some fun with. And you won't waste your time watching the film. I had a good enough time with it where I would definitely recommend it. On a rating scale, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, some things that I didn't think worked all that well, but overall a fun time. All right, guys, well, if you've seen Hard Eyes, go ahead, comment below. Let me know what you thought about it. And besides that, everyone have a great day.